3, 2, 1.
You are now listening to Beyond the Veil, a production of Holosuite Media. Tune in to our live show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The following live broadcast may not be suitable for all ages. The views expressed in this show are solely those of the individual providing them and do not represent the opinion of this station, website, or any affiliated partners. Audience discretion is advised.
Hello there, Secret Worlders, and welcome to episode 138 of Beyond the Veil podcast. I am Antita, your host tonight, and joining me to talk about the most awesome game ever, we have Azakthor.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Griff.
Hello.
Hello. We have Mr. Gray.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
And of course, look at this. Our Twitch chat is absolutely packed. I wonder why that is.
Because we're really good fun to listen to.
I should hope so. So, yay! Issue 11 has finally been released to our content-hungry community, and it was released yesterday. And I mean, who wouldn't be hungry when such great meals are served, right? Unfortunately, some do contain a bit of filth, but yeah, we'll take care of that, right? At least we'll try to.
You just nuke it in the microwave for a few extra minutes. That makes everything hygienic.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
it should be. So, issue 11 has been released yesterday for a 3-day early access for the game's subs and GMs. And in addition, Tomium has also informed us, he's our friendly Hawkward community manager, has informed us that those who also have purchased the Fall of Tokyo pack, if I'm not mistaken, have also been granted early access to issue 11. So, hooray for early access. Now, with yesterday's release, we are finally able to have some of our questions answered. It's like the questions that you've had for the last almost 3 years, you finally have answers to. Or if you're like us, you'll just end up with having more questions that come out from what you have just found out. Well, if you're full of questions, guys, we are full of answers tonight. Do beware, there will be quite a bit of spoilers tonight. So if you have not played the content yet, if you do not wish to have it spoiled in any way, it might be better if you listen to the remastered version that's going to come out later on after you have had a chance to play. Just giving you a fair warning. But joining us tonight to help you get some answers to those long-burning questions that you might have is the one and only Roman Amiel, also known as Tilty, the lead designer on The Secret World. Hi there, Tilty. How's it going?
Hello.
Managed to get some sleep?
A little bit. But apart from that, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you. We love having you on. Also joining us tonight is our very favorite actor, Joshua Douche. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Hello, it's Deech actually.
Deech. Okay.
Exactly how
I
it's
call
not
him
spelled.
douche all the time though, so it works.
That's for other reasons.
It's,
I was just
yeah.
about to point out, we're like, less than 5 minutes into the podcast, and you're already calling one of the guests a douche.
That's
cold,
okay.
man. That
Apparently,
is cold.
According to
All right, I'm
Xander,
out of
I
here.
call Joel worse.
Oh, it's not according to Xander. We got that on recording.
No. I beg to differ, and I will do so until the day I die, as they say. Okay, so yeah, Tomium, I think, has just said that in chat that it's correct about the early access. So people who also have purchased the Fall of Tokyo pack also have been granted early access. So what are you waiting for? Get in the game and get playing. So yes, we are also being joined by none other than the lead writer on The Secret World, also known as Scrivnomancer. So Scriv, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I started to get sleep again.
He's such a scribe.
Not afraid of the dark?
No. They have a dark little room that I write in.
Oh, so they keep you in the dark little room. Interesting.
They
is
slide food
actually-
in the slot. It's
I'm gonna take notes because if Scriv is getting some sleep, that means he doesn't have enough tasks. So I'll give you some new stuff.
Dun dun dun.
Now I
You
know.
know, your Twitter feed gets much more entertaining the less sleep you get, though. I'm pretty sure.
probably. That's maybe the one positive side effect is the tweets I'll see the next morning and be like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah, Mad Lyric says Scriv is scary.
Thank you, Mad Lyric.
Yeah, so Scriv, what are you wearing, mate?
Possibly a mankini. Does it sound like I'm wearing a mankini? I'll shift around a little.
As long as it hides the zucchini.
I just want to say I left the office.
Yes.
He's there all by himself. God
Mhm.
knows what he's up to.
Who knows what I'm doing to Ramon's seat right now?
Oh,
All right,
oh,
something you need to burn
oh.
tomorrow.
Oh, great. Getting sidetracked with Mankini yet again.
I do this in protest, Ramon.
Oh, why
I'm
is that?
protesting with you.
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
Are you wearing a Mankini too?
I'm home, so I can do whatever I want.
Ramon's wearing a mankini on the inside.
Always.
Yeah, notice you didn't say no.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. So, okay, back to The Secret World. Now that the final story of this chapter has been told, congratulations are in order to you guys. I think the community as a whole, or by vast majority, has voiced their approval of this new content with words such as amazing, entertaining, thought-provoking, inspiring, excellent, fantastic, greatly appreciated. And that's just naming a few. Does this kind of community's response make all those long hours spent at work trying to get things done worth it for you?
It definitely helps. Enthusiasm is infectious, so all the enthusiasm on Twitter, on the forums, on the various internet faces, that always helps.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of a mentioned every time that we do this for the for all the players, for the community, and it's good to get approval. It's good to hear that people like that what we're doing. We sacrifice a lot of time to the game to try and make it as good as we can with it the time that we get given. And yeah, everybody loves hearing people telling good stuff, but I do want to say that if we listen to all the positive feedbacks, it's great and we love it and we hope it keeps coming, but we also do listen to all the negative feedback, as long as it's not too insulting. We love negative feedback as well.
I have
It gives
a
us
personal word file for those.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, Antita used all those superlatives, but my description of it is, God damn it, more questions than answers. Ah!
I know, and exactly, and that's a good thing. Like it's great for us to hear that negative feedback because first it gives us the drive to do better, every single time, and then also like we get a chance to actually see like reaction, like things that we may not necessarily have thought of, because when we went through the story and everything, we in our head we thought we were revealing too much, and it was surprising
There
to see a lot
can
of people
never be
saying, "Oh
too
my God,
much.
we haven't had any of the answers actually revealed." And we're like, "Oh, we thought it was so much being revealed. We were afraid people were going to say, okay, it's too much. Now there's no reason to play." So it's kind of and now we look back at it and we're like, okay, maybe we gave maybe too many hints beforehand in 9 and 10. So what we thought we were revealing, because it was just hinted at, is like people, we have very smart players, so they knew all of it already. So like, okay. So it's definitely a lesson learned. We might try to be. I don't think. I mean, we did not do it on purpose. If it was like some question that were left unanswered, a lot of them were not really. Were not done on purpose. We're not trying to be cheap with our story. Like we have plenty to tell. So it's. And it's some of the stories. I think some of the answers that people want is because in our head as well they are for the future. It was not really tied to Caden. So it's kind of as well what this was completely left out, and we understand as a player perspective, it's not really clear, what is linked to what. So I mean, I'm sure we'll go into this in more details later on. So I'm not going to spoil everything right now and take Scriff's place because he knows this a lot better than I do.
I did not write the trailer. All questions.
So
I approved it, and that's my fault for this. Yeah.
So there was a number of questions about this. Even Bright Moon wondered about it on the forums. How much of the Tokyo story has changed since it was first written years ago? And if it has it changed as a result of the extended development cycle or something else?
Do you want this, Josh, or?
Yeah, I'll take part of it. As far as when it was originally outlined and written, I actually wasn't even on the team when that originally happened. But things got adapted, things got more fleshed out. There's always practical concerns that affect the story. That's just part of the compromise of working on a larger production like this. But yeah, the basic gist of the story went along as originally planned, with some parts more fleshed out. But smaller parts of the story, of course, get affected, and just kind of little rippling effects by the way we release it and by various other practical concerns.
Yeah. I mean, the story does evolve quite a lot. Like we had like a. This was written a very long time ago. I mean, by Ragnar and the writers back then, and of course as we start creating content, things need to evolve, based on inspiration we have at the time, sometimes based on technical limitations or we might have. So a story is always evolving. But as far as I want to say, like the story was pretty set when we started working on issue 9. I think we had everything, like all the scope, like really written all the way till the end of 11. Even prior to this, we had some things which we knew were coming, like, and we wanted to tell in 9, 10, 11. So it was great for us to be able to actually see this to fruition. And of course, along the way, we started getting ideas. We added more things that we wanna get to answer later. We call this the end of the first chapter because this issue is the big finale of the story mission in Caden, but it's actually not the last content which is happening in Caden. So there's going to be a few loose ends that are going to be tied up in the future.
Yeah, that's good.
Are we going to get to do some quests with Young?
This one is a very difficult question. we actually have a lot of quests who are, I mean, and I mentioned this before, I mean, this is kind of, we have a lot of quests who are written, I mean, even would say like the cinematics, like the voiceover and everything is done for a lot of extra NPCs in the game that we started, when we started working on issue 10, etc. So we have Young, we even have like some NPCs who aren't even right now in the playfield, who are written and their quests are done, etc., etc. And they were planned to go as part of side stories for the issue. And I think, as I mentioned before, we had to make a critical call in the fact that the side stories aren't great sellers. We spend like, for us, working on a side story or working on a normal issue is the same amount of effort which is put in it. Like, the whole team is working toward it. It does cost us a lot to create them. And then when we realized that for whatever reason we just weren't selling as well, it made us realize that maybe people were more interested into having stories, like cohesive stories that can to follow each other, so something which gives like more content. That we sort of made a call and say, okay, maybe we should discontinue doing side stories. We're going to try to find a way to still tell those stories in some other way. But yeah, right now there's nothing planned for those guys. We have tons of other stuff planned, of course. We want to focus on the story. I think what we think people want to hear.
By other NPCs, do you mean like Rose, Mei-Ling, and Alex, as they were in an early teaser for this issue, I believe?
No, actually NPC is completely unannounced. I could give you the names, but it would mean nothing, so I'm not even gonna bother. No, we had some other NPCs that we had some other stories. I mean, you can even see in game like some of the areas in Kaden who are like kind of left unused. We had NPCs planned for them, like to sort of tell stories about the areas where they belong. And so yeah, we work on content like fairly far ahead in advance. If you're going to start working on NPCs, if you're going to start recording things, we tend to do a lot of things in a batch. So we planned for this like a long time ago. We did a lot of work regarding it, but before we started actually implementing the missions, which is like one of the most costly parts of the content, we realized we might put a lot of effort into it, and at the end of the day, we might not be able to recover I mean, it's a business every day, so the money that we put into creating this content, so we decided to try to focus on things that we know is gonna allow us to generate enough money so we can keep the game afloat. I make it sound terrible, but it's just it's a business.
Yeah,
we have other people
business,
making those calls for us, and we try to release what we know people are interested into purchasing.
Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. Guerrero saying, I've accidentally managed to make a lot of people sit down in a line, and there's a line in the game of players sitting in front. Okay, going back, Tilty. We've now seen the choices that we made during the story had impact on what type of ultimate ability we got. Were these abilities always the intended purpose of the choices, or has there been other things on the table that these choices would lead to? This is a question from Nora Devind on the forums.
Yeah, there's been right, so since the beginning we knew we wanted to do something with what is going to happen to the player. We have some plans that are still aren't in play just yet, which some of the plans, some of the things we want to do is actually more to have an impact on the actual game itself. Some of us plan, go as far as really going into literally, I think Joel has mentioned many times, like we have a lot planned for the game and everything all the way till the end. If anything was to happen and one day we say, okay, well, we want to finish the story, we're saving a lot of data, so it's going to help us to really show that all the players, all of your actions actually is going to have an impact on what's going to happen in the future to the world and to you as a character. Doing this was because we sort of realized, it was the end, as we said, the end of the first season. Like the bomb in Tokyo is something which literally is revealed in the game from the moment you create your character. It's the first thing you hear on the radio on the very first cutscene, when you're before even your character start swallowing the bee, which give you your superpower. So it was like, we thought it was time this end of this first season. We wanted to give a gesture to the player to say, okay, all of these choices you made in the past, they're going to give you something that's going to make you feel powerful and look powerful. And yeah, I mean, that was the first idea behind it. So it's like, okay, now is the time we're going to do this. It's per player. It's nothing which is going to be massive in the world, because we keep this for later. And yeah, and we came up with the ability. And then while I'm at it, I'll just explain, like, the other thing for me, the abilities, I know people have, a lot of people have made those creators like 2 years ago, or almost 3 years ago when the game came out. And a lot of people might not necessarily remember the choices, because of course this is a one-time event.
Yeah.
So I really didn't want people to go into, I didn't want to create abilities that were going to be so drastically different that, players would prefer to play as a healer, would say, well, I wanted the healing ability, I wanted the DPS ability, I wanted the tank ability. So this is why came the idea that, we were going to make an ability that was going to be awesome for everyone, no matter what type of players and whatever your purpose is, maybe within a group, you're going to love this ability because it's going to do AoE, it's going to do lasting damage, it's going to heal you, and it's just, it's going to hit so many targets, like, it's like by far the biggest area that we have, like, in the game. And we wanted it to be awesome. And so all we did is really we put, like, on the paper, like, all of the effects that were going to happen, and then we just shuffle them around and say, this one is going to start with the damage and finish with the heal, and this one's going to start with the heal, finish with the damage, making sure, like, it was not done like over a too long period of time. So one of them might become less useful than the other. So it was like a clear choice of trying to balance it so everybody wants them. And the last thing we did is just really giving it like a visual twist that would define your character. And we knew, of course, that people will say, well, I prefer black than gold, or I prefer blue compared to anything else. But at this stage, it's just a visual choice. And this does reflect your character's past and what has happened. It's not something that, we know a lot of people are saying, oh, they're going to give us a way to redo it later so I can change my wings. Right now, and I'm going to sound mean, and I'm sure I'm going to make a few people cry, is like, I really don't want to allow people to actually do this, because for me, it's more like, okay, it is your character, you made this choice, and it might be a mistake, that you made in the past, but it's like, it's life, almost. It's like, sometimes you have to live with your mistakes, and you can, you can try to own up to it, so you might decide to now be like, I don't want to say the words evil and good, because there really are no good or bad choice. It's just they are choices. So it's kind of I just want people to see them as just like, this is what my character look like now based on what I've done in the past. This is how I got to it. We want to do like more things in the future, like, the ultimate ability from what we talked about now is really I see people doing it. That looks awesome. The idea of the ultimate ability is just, it's something that we might want to expand in the future. So giving maybe other choices. No, I'm not talking about these wings in particular, but there might be other things in the future that will allow you to customize new type of abilities, depending on what happens, depending on opportunities from the stories. So yeah, this is just like a beginning of this.
The ultimate abilities, they are really awesome, but from a storyline perspective, why did the Niflheim guy give that to us? How exactly does that fit into the story?
So this one is tricky, and I can let Scrib, like we discussed it at length. I could just give you a chuckle and say, oh, it fits, because it does.
An unacceptable answer.
But it really
You
does.
need to tease us with more.
But it's a difficult one to tease without spoiling too much of what's gonna of things that we want. We just, everything we want to say about the abilities is actually really strongly hinted at in the cutscenes and in gameplay of everything which happens, like on this balcony. So I would really recommend that people go and start deciphering the clues that we left so that we don't spoil it for anyone in there, and hopefully you'll be able to start getting a rough idea of things to come. But it fits. I don't know, Scrib, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I guess the as far as the ability being kind of a climax in the story, it's not so much the ability itself; it's what it might allude to that's going to be happening further on down the line. And there's some hints, some really subtle hints right now in some of the cutscenes. But yeah, it's alluding to bigger things happening to the character.
So someone posted in Twitch chat that you had actually there was a big reveal that you've mentioned on the forums about this.
Is there?
That's what the community says.
Can they specify?
Okay, so whoever it was that posted it in chat, specify so we can grill Scriv about it a little bit more.
And while we're waiting for that, was there ever the plan to make us use that ultimate ability in the final boss fight?
No.
Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, not specifically to my knowledge, but
No, definitely not for the boss fight. I mean, of course, you have to defeat him before you get it. So it's kind of a, you can, whenever you're going to repeat it, if you use it, it will make the fight faster. It does have a lot of HP, and it's kind of it's a big fight. The plans for the abilities, though, we have some of them. We are working on dungeons. And particularly doing on the more difficult part of the dungeon, will have things that might require certain abilities. We want this to become it's not becoming part of any rotation of any kind, but we want people to start thinking in terms of having those ultimate abilities, and there might be some kind of a gameplay that might require people in the party to use their abilities at specific times. So. And there are ways, everything is designed in the abilities to allow us designers to make it a tool so we can use it reliably in the dungeons. It's going to be very simple for us. You see the way it works right now. It takes about between 10 and 15 minutes to build up your anima power before you can actually use the abilities. We have ways to decrease or accelerate this if we want to. We have ways to completely wipe your power if you want to be mean, and I'm mean, so I probably will do this sometimes. But we can. The biggest thing as well is we can increase it as well. So if we have bosses that rely on you on using those abilities at certain given times, we'll give you the means to do so, and then there might still be a little bit of a puzzle in there in figuring out, what do I use it on, how do I make sure that my power is up by the time I need it, and who uses it in the group, etc., etc. But I think it's going to make for some very interesting and very epic looking fights in the future.
Can I just jump on something you said there?
To Nightmare, sorry. Yep, go on.
Yeah, did you just publicly confirm that you are actively working on a dungeon?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Dun, dun,
Is,
dun.
is there anything else you can share with us?
I mean, sure, if you want to talk about it now.
Well, let's go back to Nephilim.
There you go, no more spoilers.
Yeah, because did you have
And Anti-Dad just became the most hated person on the server.
No. We'll
Just
get to
kidding.
that.
No, so
The
we've got
only thing
a
is-
question list. I suppose we should stick to the right order.
No, not the right order, but people are wanting to know angels. So
Yeah, so it was the Black Angels that came down, or the Black Nephilim, Black Red-Winged ones that came down and stopped Lilith. Now, there are other winged angels, aren't there? So what did the black ones want with Lilith?
Well, they're not happy with her. You don't know exactly all the reasons behind that. Part of that might even just be simple prejudice against her. Some of them, at least, did not like the fact that Samael elevated one of the talking apes, as they call us.
So that means that Lilith is human, right?
Right, just really old and probably modified in some unspecified way.
While Samael is one of the Nephilim, is that correct?
He is one of the hosts, yes.
How long until we become one of the hosts?
Oh, this is
Oh,
what I get like.
you
I'm
want
cringing
in on
my
the
chair right
host.
now.
There's so many questions that came up. Lots of cool things to talk about.
So this is like part of what we talked about. Like, I mean, this thing in particular, which links directly, I'm going to invite everybody almost to, I want to say, go back and create a character and look at what happens, when you become a bee. There's a lot of information right there, which actually ties in directly into that final cutscene you get on the rooftop with Lilith. It also ties into one of the dungeons. Like, you have a lot of information about those winged creatures, so that we call the host, and like the terms Nephilim, and more. They're extremely important to the story, and this is the kind of thing that we're going to keep continuing, like all the way till the end. This is the leitmotifs, and it's going to be weaved in through every single story, I think, that we have, like finishing that first chapter, but everything we have in the future. It's extremely important. But there's already I think there's a few hints, and some of them might be very old, that people may have not quite caught on just yet. And what we're kind of hoping is, as people go back and with the reveals that you get, particularly from Lilith at the end, if you go back and look at some of the older cutscenes or looking at some of the older lores, you'll be able to actually find out a lot more. We did do those reveals. Maybe some of them might be too subtle.
So how does Iblis fit into all this? Is he one of the Nephilim?
Yes.
Yes, he is. Yes.
He seems to be significantly weaker, though, as we can fight him ourselves.
This is true. Might be something that's addressed in the future.
And have you heard his monologues? He's significantly emo.
He's the none of the other Nephilim wanna be around him. They're just like, man, we're dark, but that guy is just so emo, so angsty.
But yeah, Nephilim are very, very powerful. Iblis, will say, was the weakest one.
But yeah, going back to why were they mad at Lilith? I won't say all the specifics now because that's stuff we'll get to. But it goes back to that it's not an easy case of good versus evil, and even within these factions of the host, it's not binary. It's not completely binary. It's not completely the Grigori versus the Nephilim. There's been multiple ages, countless years where different jealousies, angers, things like that have formed. People trying their own plans. Samael has his plans, Lilith's had her plans, her minions have had their plans, and it's just kind of spiraled into this grand drama that's going to be unfolded piece by piece.
But
So
even
do the
the-
Nephilim have a leadership structure? And if so, where does Samael come into that?
Probably, spoiler, I will say that Samael he's a bit more independent-minded. Also, structures might have changed throughout the different ages. When they first rebelled, it might have been different than it was, say, in the Second Age or in this age, for that matter.
But this is actually
So
very, very interesting to hear Bo's question, because some of the things that you're asking is actually things I thought had been answered in the past. I'm going to have to go and double check, because actually some of the... It's, sometimes it can be very difficult to keep track of everything that we have actually said and how we've said it. So sometimes we might just be too subtle, or sometimes we just, give out a hint and then forget to actually completely say it based on, us reading the forums and saying, oh, we figured this out, so, that's fine. So it's actually interesting to hear this, because yes, it's, we might actually do some fixes in the future to try and answer a bit more of his question that you just asked.
Takayukin is asking in chat, can Scriv reveal the name of Mr. Reap?
I'm totally blanking. Who's Mr. Reap? Is he someone I wrote? Who am I?
I'm guessing that would be the one who says reap what you sow.
Oh, right.
Oh.
No, I can't at this point.
Because it's a spoiler, or because you don't know yet?
Yes.
I'm so tempted to go like 1960s cop drama and shine a light in your eyes. Yeah, you know the answer, see? Yeah, you tell us what you know, see?
I'm not a rat.
I'm going to be really curious to run some of my low-level alts now. I kind of figured that some of what was revealed here, there would be more information further back in the story, and that's really cool to have that confirmed.
Yeah, it's often stuff I have to relook up, not even just to keep the actual lore straight, but to remember what we've revealed either in game or just, interviews and stuff. So I'm like, is that something I can reveal now, or what's the reveal schedule?
Gosh, you guys have to be so careful. You're allowed to trip every once in a while and let things, slip out.
You're saying this to a person wearing a mankini right now. Is that really the inappropriate choice of words?
Whoops!
Whoopsie!
Okay, my bad.
That's what she said.
So even though the Nephilim seem to be incredibly powerful, they're still terrified of the Dreamers. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So the Nephilim, the host, they seem to be incredibly powerful. Like we saw they were able to just, contain Lilith with a wave of their hand. But they seem to be terrified of the Dreamers. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, individual opinions amongst them might vary, but yeah, everyone's pretty terrified or at least respectful of the power that the Dreamers represent.
One thing that's been sort of getting at me for a while is, right from the beginning, it was always played out that, we're bees, we're part of a hive, we're one among many. But since our Toon is the only one that confronted Lilith, how exactly does that play into things now that we've got wings and so forth? Do all the other bees have wings? Do they reap what they sow? Or have we effectively become the chosen one, the one and only?
That's always the hard thing with storytelling in an MMO. How do you do the character special, and how is it that everyone's special? I would say your character's probably reached a significant stage, and others may have too. And the faction handlers might start noticing these sorts of things, that these changes are happening.
Cool.
Yeah. It's important for us. Like we keep this idea of like the factions, like your character, as Awesome Meteor, you are definitely there's a few of you who reach this kind of level, and it's important that we want to keep this idea of a group going into you progressing throughout what's going on, and yes, you're doing this mission for your faction in there, like investigating what is going on in Caden, but you're not going to be the only one, and you can see it, of course, like the story, like Lilith addresses you. It's as Scriv mentioned, is like one of the hardest part of writing for an MMO, given we want all of you to feel special, and we want to tell the story as in like all of you we're an entity. So it's I said nothing.
Basically, there's no chosen one, but your characters at this point have reached a certain level of significance. They've taken, your handlers now in those final scenes have taken notice of you in a more developed way than, say, when we started.
Oh, great. I can just imagine Gary being on Lumi's asses now even more. All right.
Choice of words.
Yeah. So Joel said before that after Tokyo, no one will ever underestimate the dragon again. And we've seen our faction handlers say that the dragon came out on top in Kaidan. Are there some missing pieces of the puzzle here? Because the only thing that players notice is Daemon taking charge, while the other two factions try to kill each other. Lots of players are wondering about this and wondering about the outcome of this when it comes to the Dragon faction.
Right. Well, a few things to keep in mind with that. It's something I would have liked to touch on a little bit more in the aftermath, but I think it's something we'll see in the future, that Diamond's crew has kind of they've reacted quicker and better to the chaos that's been going on in Kaidan, and so they've got a bigger piece of the pie going forward. Now that the city may or may not be more or less saved from total oblivion, they're kind of the ones on top. But what's the other thing is that it's also a bit on perception. The factions are these ancient, jealous, powerful but also scared of each other organizations that are constantly paranoid of each other. If they detect a slight hint of, what are they doing? Is that person coming out on top? Think about like a bunch of rich people trying to outdo each other. Like, oh, they got a gold toilet seat, I got to get this. So when they see something going on with Diamond, that there might just be the assumption that they're Dragon are doing way more than we think. So like in the Illuminati's case, Kirsten Gary gets chewed out by her superiors because it seems like the Dragon have picked an ally that knew things quicker than the other factions, or than the other gangs in Tokyo did. Like these gangs in Tokyo, they're not actually members of the major factions. They're just these groups that were courted by the factions, and it could have gone the other way. The Illuminati in an alternate timeline might have courted Diamond Kyoto and picked him, and Giri's superiors are probably angry because she didn't. Whereas in the Templars, in that final scene, spoilers, we see that there are subgroups within the Templars. There's Sonic seems to be the young blood, as he calls it, the new blood, and there's the old guard, which does not like Sonic for various petty reasons or better reasons. Well, we don't know yet, but there's these So there's these politics going on, and they want Sonic to go down no matter what. So if they can present it as Dragon won, we lost, let's beat up Sonic, they're going to do that, even if maybe he doesn't deserve it quite.
Aww. Poor Templars.
Yeah, I kind of want to go beat up Pit and Pendulum now. Can we do that in the future, please?
Yeah. See, everyone's like, oh, we gotta protect our man Sonic. But yeah, I think it's a case of choosing. The other factions are scared they chose the wrong ally because Diamond just kind of came out of nowhere for them. So if you think about it, they're coming towards Tokyo. There's this big supernatural brouhaha going on, and they need to pick the right ally. So they totally overlooked this crazy but otherwise mundane-seeming criminal leader. And then they went with the more sure bet, a demon ruling a bunch of other demons and some mystical samurai. That seemed like the more obvious choice. And now this unlikely person has risen, become an equal to the other gangs, if not on top of them in this situation. And now is in the Dragon. Like that's a weird precedent to the other factions. Like this outsider is suddenly so high up in their ranks, they're freaking out.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see how all the dust settles on that.
Yes, indeed.
Now, I'm going to go off script again here, so sorry, Antita, but we found out that with the Mitsubashi that we are not the only bees that have been picked up by other groups. Now, what happens to those that don't get picked up by groups? I ran into something in the tower called the Hive. What the hell is that?
Ooh, that was me being sadistic.
It did sound pretty sadistic when I read about
yes,
it.
But that's an excellent question. What happens? The factions pick up bees because, well, for one, they want them in their ranks. The other thing is they don't want loose cannons out there. What happens when they don't get picked up? Some, maybe some get picked up by Orochi, maybe some get picked up by other people, but...
And for the rest, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
That's it.
But who knows? Who knows what happens?
Scriv, pretend I'm sitting right next to you right now and hit yourself with the back of the head.
What?
Okay, so I've got another question here that's actually is on script. Now, Aurora's was wondering, when you have the rabbit fight, they have this buff when they come and fight you. Aurora's can't quite remember what it's called. Do you remember what it is, Telty?
Say that again, sorry? As usual, I'm distracted by like a million child messages.
When you're fighting the rabbits, Uta, and you fight them one at a time, and they use a buff when they're about to attack you, something about combat or something, and Aurorus on the forums was wondering what that buff is. He can't quite remember it. Do you remember what it is, or Tilty?
Not on the top of my head, no, I'm sorry. But, I mean, I would assume it's only the buff that makes them invulnerable. apart from one of them. Like it's kind of a. Oh, I know what you're getting at. Oh, nicely played.
So close.
So close. I almost said it. It's like literally the word came out like at the tip of my tongue, and then my common sense just stopped me. Phew.
Seems that today you're a 2 for 2.
Oh, nicely played.
So the rabbits, why did we have to kill them? I kind of felt bad about that, surprisingly. Are they dead for good, or can we find them later and, hang out with them, share a drink? They were working for Lilith, right? Taking revenge on those who tried to kill her?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, she's Uta, like this is actually the very, very interesting point from us because we saw a lot of people, expecting a big reveal as to who she was. Really, like in our head, I mean, she's an assassin, hired by Lilith in this case, like to protect her and to tie up some of the loose ends, she gave a few names of people to go after, and she did. Something that we had in our head, obviously, like from the beginning, is the reveal that I don't know who is listening in the channel. Just cover your ears if you don't hear the one of the spoilers on issue 11. But that there was more than one. So that was always for us like the big reveal is like people are gonna be of course that's why she was always a step over us when we reveal all three, and we thought people would be okay with this as a reveal. She has like there's a little bit more to the character, but for us it's like that was a way of retiring the characters. She served the purpose. The player get to defeat her finally, like she does all these nice fights all the time. She makes sure she never attack the player, and then at the end when the player is going after Lilith, she goes and try to defend her mistress, and that was it. To answer your question, there is one more time where you're gonna get to see Uta, and I'll as well just mentioning it right now as a small reveal for future content. So I'm going to do like a segue right now. We had mentioned in the past issue 11, so was going to have this story and was going to get some group content. Unfortunately, because of things that happened like while actually working on this particular issue, and this has been a cursed issue from my end, like as far as the team was concerned, is like anything that could go wrong did. We had a lot of issues. We had one of us spent a couple of months in the hospital, very close to dying, unfortunately. He's a lot better now, but he got all of us like very worried. It was difficult to concentrate when all these things were going on. And on the other end, we had on the happy news, we had one other person who was expecting a baby, and received that baby, got a little boy, but 1 month ahead of time. So we had a lot of things that we had to juggle with to try and make sure we could still deliver everything. And when we got to a point, we realized that we might not be able to actually deliver the group content that we wanted to, so we decided to postpone it. And postpone it is like the key word. So we're actually now properly working on it. Some of us has already moved on to issue 12, but we want to finish this group content that we promised. So it will be coming up as a free update to anyone who has issue 11, and we'll offer you some actually group fights that we mentioned. One of them will actually allow you to actually do a group version of the Uta fights. So very similar, like fighting all three, but aimed to be done in a group. So like very different strategy, obviously, as it cannot be done solo. And as part of this, we discussed it, like we just wanted it to be purely group content based on receiving new loot. But I think we're going to use this to try and answer some of the questions that people have asked, and give you a chance to actually to completely finish up the Uta storyline.
One last question before we move on, just with in regards to Uta. Were they clones? Were they mirrors? Were they summons? There's three of them. Are they sisters? Can you give us a little information there?
I'd say I'd rather keep this for like when we actually do the reveal in game, unless Scriv is something that we can do that's not going to spoil the future.
Not at this time.
Sorry.
And I thought we were friends. I hate you.
Aw.
Aww. Wow, that's okay.
Well, quick before launching into the next thing, by the way, that is a lot to juggle, and I'm sure everybody really appreciates that you still want to try to get the group content out later. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're
Another
welcome.
another question about that final battle though. So it seems a little bit weird that the filth would be attacking the player if John is at least temporarily on our side. So is it just that Lilith is shielded, so they go for what they can get, or is it all just part of distracting her for longer?
I mean, it's the fact that as the player you do want this information, like Lilith kind of commands you to defend her, she's like, please, take care of this. So you do have this incentive to attack. I mean, on the other end, like, he's still like, John, you may have like a kind of truce with him, like at the end of issue 11, but I don't think you really become best buddies at the end. He's still like, controlling the filth, which at the end of the day is pretty bad. So it's kind of it kind of makes sense the player would defend themselves, and then also attack, this poisonous substance who's on the roof trying to attack the person who's about to reveal a whole lot.
Oh,
I
that
also
makes
took it
sense.
as that John is kind of batshit insane.
Yeah,
A little bit, isn't it?
And if anyone's mad about not enough reveals, it's really not our fault. It's the filth. We tried to reveal more through Lilith, and these creatures attacked.
That's a good point.
Dun,
Yeah,
dun,
and
dun.
the
They're
angels
awful. We have
too.
no control over them. They're insane.
Yeah, the final boss fight, some of them were really cool. The Uta fight, absolutely amazing. Great fun there. Then you got, Flappy again, which was lovely to see. Then you've even got the crawler, the filth spider. But the problem I had with that fight was the waves of filth seemed a little bit anticlimactic. You had, I think it was 3 waves of each type of monsters. You had the little guys and the beasts and the big guys. It felt a little anticlimactic. Why didn't you go for 3 waves instead of just 1 of each?
You know what? I mean, it's actually funny because actually I got the amount of wave reduced quite a lot before we launched, because there was even more. I think it's one of those things where it's easy for people to sort of get lost when we implement into saying, okay, we wanted to have more of a ring event of really showing those monsters attacking, like making it feel like this was like the final assault. You saw the assault on the tower at the bottom, and then it's an assault directly from the rooftop going into this filth that John is spreading everywhere, giving you allowing the field to start to reconstruct itself into more and more and more powerful target until eventually it sort of culminates into this Shade Stalker. Yeah, we have this idea in mind, and I guess it didn't come across quite well. And yeah, maybe it became a bit anticlimactic at the end. The way when we test content, we try to make sure also it's doable by everyone, and we based everything on people who might not have done any dungeons or everything. So we try to make sure for the story mission it's doable with all of the reward that you get from the story mission these days. So it's kind of a in late kind of a blue gear and kind of early purple. So at this stage when we did it, it was actually it was okay to play through as well. It became fairly challenging, and it was just a level that we want. And yeah, maybe it became slightly too easy, I think, for all of you out there who are very powerful and very well geared, and then just when it becomes easy, it becomes boring, and then it's the eternal circle of trying to balance the stories for everyone.
Yeah, that's understandable. Was a monster type cut from that sequence? I've seen a marketing picture that looked like it had a filth werewolf thing up on the top of the tower there.
For which one, sorry?
On the right at the top, the last fight with the waves of filth, was there a monster type that was removed?
Not that I can think of. You get Shades, and then you get the Bestial Filth, and then the Hulks, and then the Shadestalker. I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's one of the promotional materials. Xander, if you scroll all the way
Okay.
down to question, all the way down to the last question, there is a JPEG there, so you can pull it up on the live stream.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can have
it
a
was
play. I
used-
assume it's the Bestial Filth, maybe. That it's all of this is marketing. What they like doing
Oh, right.
is
Yes, it could be that going on up on its back legs.
yeah, I think that's what it is. It's in the middle of an attack and it's probably scaled up. Like, this is how marketing does cold posters all the time. We just grab anything and scale it up. I mean, this is what I'm doing right now with my GM. Everything which is big is better.
Yeah, that'd be it. Yeah.
Sirity has a question for Screv. Are we ever going to finish a story arc with our character not passing out?
Nope. In fact, they will pass out earlier and earlier. You won't see anything. It'll just be black screen for a while.
Hey, why has Samuel not done anything about Lilith already? I mean, they're obviously, not seeing eye to eye. Or was he unable to stop us from reaching her himself?
Samuel is busy with all kinds of plans of his own. That's a possibility. Also, they have a pretty complex relationship, going from love to hate to killing each other to loving each other. There's some factors that have complicated things for him. We also don't know where he's broadcasting from at this point.
So their Facebook status is just, it's complicated.
It's complicated. He has the events didn't completely go to as he planned. So there were things happening beyond his control. He definitely knows what's going on. He's definitely powerful, but he's not omniscient or omnipotent.
So when we were progressing up the tower and Samuel was speaking to us through the screens, was he directly speaking to us then, or were they all pre-recorded?
As far as I know, directly speaking to you.
He was intimidating.
No, he was emo. Oh, come on, guys. Oh, come on. You don't have to do this, guys. Come on.
She's my
No.
girlfriend, guys. I'll tell her.
Yeah, stop being so mean.
He just liked her doing the beaver dance from issue 7.
Now, Lilith, one of the things she revealed was that she was either looking for or currently had a Gaia engine. Now, reading through the lore for the, I'm going to say this wrong, but the Gunjini Odinspiel, the name of that icebreaker that we find in the docks,
Right.
it mentions that they brought something back from Antarctica. So does that mean that the Gaia engine is currently inside the tower, or are we going to have to go fetch it ourselves?
I have no idea.
Yeah. It's an
Don't know.
interesting guess. I guess you'll have to find out.
Never heard of that.
What are these Gaia engines
I
you
don't
speak
know.
of?
What game
Yeah.
are you talking about?
They were probably just bringing a huge chunk of ice. People need ice.
Yep, that's how you get ice.
You bring something from Antarctica? Blah, from Antarctica, you bring it with a reason. But on a side note, what is Lilith's ring? Is it an insect or something?
Sorry, say that again?
Lilith's... Blah, I can't talk tonight. Lilith's ring. Her ring. Is it an insect? Or what is it? Is
The
it something
ring that she's
specific?
using? On the finger, you mean?
Yeah, the one she's wearing.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is something that we can spoil. Scrave, what do you think?
I'm gonna
Do
say.
it.
Sure.
I guess it's my head on the line. So, no, I mean this is it's actually a third age relic. So it's kind of yeah, it's a machine. Like it's a very very powerful ring. So it kind of shows you like the power of the third age in a game. Like she went through it, as we mentioned earlier. She has been through all of the ages. I think we just revealed, and yeah, this is in the last one she just kept that, and it does a lot of things.
Fantastic. We've been trying to take screenshots to work out what it is. So it's a machine then, a third age relic.
Yep.
I thought it looked like a little bit like a scarab.
On the design of it, yes, it definitely it has an I think it actually is scarab design on it, but it's a lot more intricate on the inside.
So speaking of third age items, there's some of them were in the game files when the game was first released. Are we going to see third age weapons that we'll be able to use and equip?
Oh my god, I'm terrible. I mean, if you, Scriv, I'll let you answer this if you know the answer. I'm just finishing answering a player right now, and then I'll stop looking at my messages.
Well, I hate to say yes to possible gameplay things that I might be completely wrong about later, but story-wise, I would imagine so, yes. I imagine we'll see some more third age tech, hear about more really apocryphal things about even past ages. Your character's kind of past that point now to where that stuff's going to start opening up story-wise.
If we get absolutely nothing else for the rest of this game, I will be happy with third age weapon skins.
All right, so yeah, you're asking about the third age weapons. Yeah, as you've seen, you're talking about the skins that were data mined, I suppose.
Those are the ones.
Yeah, no, we have some plans for them. They'll be powerful. And yes, ultimately, we want players to be able to get them, but they're gonna be rare. Like as everything which is third age, like you have a few missions in Egypt that sort of show you how rare kind of any kind of third age relic is. I mean, even though we're all standing right next to one right now, there's a lot like to be learned about the ages, and then this will be part of it, and it's going to be powerful, and we want it to be rare as well, even amongst the players. And it's coming for the futures. It's all planned. Like it will happen.
Wouldn't have anything to do with the city underground in Antarctica, would it?
I have no idea. I really don't. There's a city underneath Antarctica? I don't know.
Everything's
Before we move on, just while we're on the subject of third age stuff, can you please just give us a spoiler here? In issue 7, in the office just before you finally get to Emma, on the shelf behind it, there is what appears to be a third age item that almost looks like a third age atomic bomb. What is that?
I can't tell you what it is. I can, if you want, I'll confirm that yes, it is a third age relic, and I'm impressed that you guys even noticed.
We notice everything.
That's
We
amazing.
see everything. Like
Every
we
single
see
time we
Lady
do things like
Pyre
this, we're
rubbing
like,
Tilty's
nobody will
crotch
know.
right now.
Oh god.
I tell my
Sorry,
I tell my
just
friends.
wanna-
Go.
I just want to mention something that's been brought to my attention. Guerrero428 in the chat channel. It's his birthday today. At least I'm
Happy
hoping it is
birthday.
him.
Yay, happy birthday.
So he's a longtime fan. Yeah, we wish you all the very best and the happiest of birthdays.
Congratulations, you were the quickest
Yeah, happy
sperm.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God. That should
It's
be a
true.
Hallmark card.
Whenever you're feeling down,
Congratulations. Today's your birthday. You're the quickest sperm.
that's right. Whenever you're feeling down or low, just remember that at one point you won a contest against millions.
Unless you were the
Sweet.
second twin and devoured them in utero.
That's even better. That's like pro wrestling uterus accomplishment.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
No,
go
that's
ahead.
fine. That's fine. No, when I talk about this game to my friends who don't play, I always say if they really want to watch a game community that really pays attention to what's going on in the game, to stop by our lore threads in the forum. I'm like, yeah, that's a community that's paying attention to the details.
The lore threads are great. I love reading those.
Oh yeah. Okay, I suppose back to question type stuff. I know you mentioned John isn't actually our best friend by the end of things, but he really was starting to kind of grow on me. So do you think we're going to hear back from him at some point in the future?
Yes, and that relationship might get more complex. Like, yeah, he's not just a cosmic horror that was faking feelings of camaraderie with you. They were real, but he's a very complicated, very dangerous entity, and possibly unprecedented with all these other beings. So yeah, we're going to see more of him, and that relationship between you and him is going to evolve further. Whether that's good or bad, we'll find out.
It'll at least be interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so without any further gear or Aegis progression in the tower, Tilty, how do you hope to keep people visiting the tower again and again once they've visited each of the floors at least once or twice? Maybe, putting in those secret floors that you guys have mentioned before.
I mean, we'll try. I mean, right now we're going, in order of priorities in every content that we want to do. So as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to focus on the group content right now for issue 11, and then we also want to do the dungeons, which I'm sure we'll start talking about soon. I mean, let me tell you like some things about the tower, actually, just going back, because we've heard a lot of feedback that people were very disappointed that the issue 11 was felt really short, that it could be completed like in a few hours, and there was a long wait for it, which is completely true. There is a few things I did want to say, just to sort of give you like a perspective maybe from our end. So when we started working on a story, as we mentioned earlier, everything was sort of written from a long time ago, like starting in issue 9, 10, sort of everything leading up to the tower, finding out that Lilith had retreated up there, and sort of tying up some of the questions that were answered like all the way through Tokyo. But we knew all of this were going to happen inside the tower. And then we had an option, how do you design like an entire issue based on the tower? And we're like, we really wanted to design an opportunity for people to understand a lot more about Orochi, what they are up to, the fact that they do have those 8 companies, and each of them, having a different agenda, and then, showing like different side of Orochi, showing that, yes, maybe sometimes it might look like, to have bad intentions, but we also do like good things. Sometimes they try, like Valley is trying to cure cancer and all these things. Like they are like very mixed, and we wanted to try and allow people to see like all the sides from Orochi. And then so we started designing those floors and making sure we would tell stories from each of the floors, working through the floors, working through the tower. But we got to a point, that we knew people what we would be interested in is reaching the top, and we could have been mean and get everyone to say, okay, whenever you want to reach the top, you're going to have to go through every single floor. There's not going to be any elevators, and you're going to have to go through every floor of this gigantic tower. And we quickly realized, like, say, okay, well, maybe that's not that fun. So we sort of came up with a number and say, we actually, sorry, I'm just being distracted by people saying things in French, thinking I might not actually understand. But yeah, no, I wanted people like to go to the tower and actually have a good time, be able to reach the top and be able to see the finale without getting too frustrated throughout the floors. And then we came up with this idea of making those floors very different and having very different stories, and making the whole core of the tower very, very repeatable. And this is how we came up, like, these ideas, and we make so it's from this point on, it was like we try to put as many Easter eggs in the tower, so that we really want people to go back in there and try and really play them by looking around. And you see there's so many Easter eggs, there's so many things. I'm looking every day on the forum to see if I see anyone commenting on them, and there's a lot of stuff which still hasn't been found yet, which I think people will really get a kick out of it. Like, we featured actually quite a lot of players. We went through like to some players know the most obvious one that we're actually featuring through the cutscene at the end, but we have other players featured in some other ways, throughout the levels, and I'm hoping people are gonna see this. I'm so distracted by this chat. I have to stop reading it because it's I'm so bad at multitasking. But we thought it was the best option. Give you all a way to repeat the tower, and we started. Because we could do this, we actually could start putting achievements in. Some of the achievements will allow you to get like some of the coolest item actually that we have as part of this issue. And yeah, just an encouragement to try and get everybody to actually try and explore that tower as much as possible. So yes, it does feel short, but I think the other option would have been it would have taken you maybe 5 hours of playing through the tower in a row, but I think people would have gotten frustrated by the time they reached the end and maybe lost interest. So it's kind of it felt to me like the better solution.
Yes. Go on.
No, I was about to say. I mean, this was step one. I wanted to say the other stuff on the delay. People said like this took 5 months. It took a long time for this short content. I mean, from our perspective, it is quite a lot of content because we did have to handcraft every single floors. We had a lot of stories to tell. I did mention earlier some of the issues that happened, particularly as part of this, issues. Having very sick teammates and people on paternity leave. It's the kind of stuff that forces us to adapt all the time, but sometimes it prevents us from meeting our deadlines because our point is we always want to make sure that when we release the game, it's going to be of a quality level that we accept, that we feel acceptable. We try to hunt as many bugs as we can. It's of course like it's a tremendous job. We try to give content that we can be proud of, and we know that we can actually be happy to release. And we also don't forget that we did add the EP, like the new player experience, like a few months ago, and obviously this did not happen in Zone. We had like more than half the team working on this like back then, and sort of took its toll on working on issue 11. So this was very, very important to the game. It actually did, like, it went beyond what we expected it to do. It it got us a lot of new players to come and try the game, which is awesome. I think for everyone, we're trying it out. We got some very good coverage from magazine, from people like you, allowing us to actually present what we're doing. And this is great, to allow to make sure that we actually get like fresh blood, new people interested in the game. And then, as soon as this was in, now, this was like a one-time event. Now we can go back and fully focus on everything that we've promised in the past and making sure it's going to happen. So, in the future, the issue should start coming up like a lot faster. Well, a lot faster. I'm going to be tied to this now, aren't I?
Kinda.
Look what you've done.
Damn.
But to touch on that, as far as reasons to go back and play those floors, if you like little stories, that's a reason to go back and play floors you haven't played yet. I spent an inordinate amount of time this issue writing little side story stuff like text in the computers, stuff for the dry erase boards, the whiteboards, and various little bits and pieces like that. It's not the main storyline stuff, but there's some nice little horror vignettes in there if you're into the textual stuff.
Yeah, I've run through twice, and I've seen 2 references to you, Tilty, and a magazine cover that said you, Scrooge, were a best-selling author. I've seen a couple of fellow
that's right,
players
yeah. There's
Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, there's an Easter egg in there. Way back when I did more with the Twitterverse, and I'd like to do more soon. But when we were running some of the contests and things, we had a contest for people to perform A Midsummer Night's Dream for Sonic, and it was an event that hasn't really panned out yet. But the contest itself happened, and that was fun. But I wanted a way to commemorate the people that were in that. So there is a picture of that on the cover of the magazine for those looking.
There was a question from TSW Chosen, since you guys were talking about those. When do we get to read Tilty's Big Day Out?
Oh god, I knew
Oh,
this
I
was coming.
totally forgot about that. I was like, what is that referencing? I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote that.
And I discovered it while playing myself. I was like, what the?
Yes, I put
Nice.
things for my fellow devs to discover later on.
Yeah, there's a Quokka Detective, Ebon's Quest, or Ebon's Quest. Yeah, beautiful.
Tilty's Day Out. I've got slightly more time now. Less overtime at the moment. Maybe I can put that together.
I don't know if there was a
Awesome.
whiteboard that had hive mode ideas, so we can see
Right.
that being revived.
I'd like to. I can't say whether or not it will. That ate up a lot of man hours, and we have less of those now. It's something we'd like to do. I'm going to try and revisit the Twitterverse at least in the sense of posting for some of those characters. And actually, I'll give a Twitter spoiler. I'd like to finally get the dragon up there. Diamond seems just like the sort of guy to enter Twitter. So hopefully we'll get to see some more from those characters. I'm not sure if we'll do some of the stuff like the hive mode, but it's definitely something we enjoyed doing. So we'll see.
Cool, it'll be nice to see how Diamond fits into Twitter. I had to look up what Barney mugging meant.
Oh yeah, that's something I might post too. I've got my own Diamond dictionary. I don't know if I want to keep that stuff to where people have to look it up and are mystified by it, or maybe I'll post a dictionary so you too can talk like a pseudo 20s figure.
Insane is saying, yes, please. Yes, Diamond Twitter.
He's actually.
Dude,
People used to ask, like, why aren't the dragon on there? And it was mostly just because we barely had time for the characters we did have on there. And originally, when it was just a few characters, it wasn't even about getting all the factions. It was just a few characters that we knew always had a phone on them, like Giri and Saeed specifically. But way back then, it was because I wanted to put Diamond on there eventually, and that was before you guys even knew who that was, and I couldn't say.
Okay, so going slightly back, it also relates to the group content that's coming up. Mostico, I hope I'm not butchering the name, is wondering when are the enhancers going to start playing a significant role in the game. I guess they must mean the Aegis capacitors. And will the new dungeon force players to be more clever about what they equip in the area of the character setup? Yeah, the enhancers are the modules that go up to 1.9 shield generators.
Sorry.
Tilty?
Do that again.
Tilty, these are questions beyond my sphere.
It's like, Tilty, help!
I need an adult.
So shall I repeat the question?
Yes, please. No, I'm having this it's even worse than usual between everybody. It's funny, like every single time I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I can't answer all the messages, and then right away I get like 10 messages at the same time saying, oh okay, but can you answer mine?
Okay, so Mostico had a question about the shield generators that go up to 1.9, the Aegis. Are they going to start playing a significant role in game? And will the new dungeon force players to be more clever about what they equip in their character setup?
Yes, definitely. I mean, even in the actual issue 11 update that we're preparing, we use these as part of the design. It's going to be required for players, to have them leveled up and to use them properly as a group, knowing who's going to do what. So yes, we plan for them. In issue 11 itself, they actually are a big help, particularly in the boardroom and in the penthouse. The boardroom, like if you do not have a tech shield Aegis like equipped, if you don't have like a psychic shield Aegis like against Uta, for example, you will feel that she does a lot more damage. Like we decided again, because we want single players, we want people like in lower gear to be able to enjoy the story, we decided to not go too over the top, but it's you will notice like a difference already when you do equip like the correct shield. as in you'll be less likely to die, and if you make a mistake, you'll be better.
Cool. So the players, you said that the content is based for solo player, right? What does that mean when it comes to gear? Does the gear have to be at least purple to point something, or can players do it at a lower level gear?
For which content? Sorry.
Issue 11.
Yeah, I mean, early purple, like 10.0 purple is definitely when it gets easier for us. What we did, we make sure like we all play it in actual blue gear and be able to finish it. So this is where we actually did like the breaking point. It is difficult in blue gear, but it is doable, and this is sort of what we know. Like most players, we know the average gear or everyone, and we know actually quite a lot of people tend to have at least a few purples. Like particularly given that we start giving them out as part of the issue rewards, so we sort of take this into account.
Cool. TSW Chosen just put out a very cool Easter egg that he has found for Je suis Charlie in the game. Nice.
Yeah, that was obviously very close to heart for me, so that was something I really, really wanted in. So it's just a little way to have a support to what happened there, but it's the props, I guess, of being a lead designer and being French. I get to do a little thing like
Cool,
this.
man. Props for that.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite floor?
I have a few, quite a few that turned out like some of the stories. It has been so much work. I mean, the whole team, I was worked so hard on getting those floors because it's so difficult sometimes, having those ideas and saying this is what's going to happen, and then, just getting come across was actually a fairly difficult challenge. So there's definitely a few of the floors that we worked really hard on and came out better than I expected. Which was really fun. And then of course we have like some of the silly floors that we made in there, when we're trying to come up with was 21 design that always kind of makes me smile when I get through them. But yeah, I mean, I have a soft spot obviously for the Anansi beta floor because it's so out there, and it's this was just fun. This was just a fun thing doing. I mean, I can even actually reveal you a little story to show you like the kind of stuff that we go through sometimes. So I don't know if any of you have done the tell you a story. So the Anansi beta floor, for people who haven't done it yet, the augmented reality room. We wanted to have a little bit of fun and to try and do something which didn't necessarily look like one of the traditional floors. So we decided to do a little homage to a quite famous arcade game. And we were like, okay, let's just turn this into a Pac-Man floor. So I don't know if any of you have played it yet, but we do have this, and I'm sorry for the massive spoiler.
We've all played Pac-Man.
Well, we've all played Pac-Man. And we implemented the entire gameplay of Pac-Man, so having like the little white balls that you have to pick up, and then the ghosts that run away from you and change colors, etc., etc. And then I started looking into like legal issues. I wanted to make sure if anything happened, we would be okay in saying this was definitely an homage. It's not a ripoff or anything. And then started looking into this and started seeing that Namco in the past has been extremely aggressive, because we're like, for us, it's like, it's also like, I think the 30th anniversary of Pac-Man. So we were like, okay, it's the perfect time to do this, etc. And actually, they tend to be fairly aggressive as a company to anyone who kind of tend to touch their property. So, we had to look and had to read through quite a few legal documents, and that's the one of the least fun part of the job, of seeing actually what we could get away with. So we could still get everybody to sort of get like, you know, this Pac-Man feel and saying, oh, this is cool, you know, we've done it, and yes, it's a great game, you know, and we've all played Pac-Man, and we, you know, we want to commemorate it like for its 30th anniversary, while, you know, knowing that we're not going to end up in jail with a massive fine for actually wanting to do this. So we had actually to come up with ways, and there's a lot of things. It's very specific, you know, we can't have like ghosts of different colors, we can't change colors when, you know, if the player become more powerful, you can't have like the little balls and everything. So we ended up with, you know, doing our own little game. So we came up with using a theme which is somewhat similar visually, but then we came up with our own little games of the way it works, which is just, you know, you need to capture, like, take one of the powers and I have to defeat one of the ghosts, and it's more of a puzzle of you need to make sure that you do not get stuck by ending up with one of the Orochi power that makes you invulnerable that might be too far away from a ghost, so you can't reach it and you have to restart. So it's more like of a little game. It's a little homage. You know, it was a little sad for us that we could not do the full gameplay at the end of the day, but it was still fun, and, you know, and I kind of love the way this part of the game looks, and it's, you know, what makes I think the Secret World so unique, because we can actually do these kind of things. You know, if we have an idea, we can actually put it into the game and do something cool.
Nice. And what about you, Scriv? You got a favorite one?
I'm really happy with the way the artificial intelligence Amy turned out. It was actually a reference to a recent article about some people that gave some artificial intelligence to Mario, and he would say really creepy things about learning. Like, he'd be like, if I jump on a Gooba, then it dies, and it kind of began that way. So I liked how the voice actress. Another floor is what was it? Who does the food stuff? Zagan, right?
Yes.
One of the Zagan floors has, I think, my favorite Orochi email I've gotten to write yet, and that involved the question: how do we market and sell the ability to eat ghosts? So if you scrounge around Zagan floors for that, you might find that email.
I also liked on the Zagan floor, there's a whole lot of people all, you know, busy as beavers working away, but if you look on one of the desks, there's one worker there that's dead and started to rot, and no one seems to have noticed or bothered about that.
Yeah, I love that little detail too.
I'm gonna have to find that article now. I got to meet Amy my first run through, and I loved every moment of that. I was talking back to my screen. It was beautiful.
I'm sure if you Google Mario and artificial intelligence, you'll find it.
Yeah, I betcha. I will have to do that. Probably not right this second. Moving on to the next question we got up here. We've got a lot of people wondering what impact the ultimate abilities are going to have on balancing future group content.
And Tilty is busy again.
Sorry. I just
so
totally realized I was as big as Tilty. I'm like, holy.
You made it through the wilderness.
Yes. I mean, they will have an impact, and we are not going to ignore it. I mean, I think I just hinted at it earlier. We're actually going to design a dungeon with this in mind. So like for any kind of solo content, of course, we just expect people to once in a while, every 15 minutes, they might be able to use it. They might be able to get out of a bad situation, for example. In group content, this is something that this is, you know, from the day we designed it, we knew people are going to want to use it in group content. So we're not going to change anything from the way it works right now. You know, as you know, for people who tested it, I mean, main like bosses will become immune to the damage part of the ability after it's been used for 10 minutes. So it can't really be abused. It allows you, you know, to do an extra 5% of your drug's health, for example, in a Polaris in one hit. Like, it's anything that it doesn't really break the encounter. But in the future, we actually want to do encounters who are really gonna make this better. Like, it's gonna make those encounters different. Like, we have some fights who we do want people to find ways to actually use their ultimate abilities in a specific ways, like for part of the fight, or, you know, else potentially get some bad consequences. As I mentioned earlier, like, we've put all the tools from our end as designers that are going to allow us to even tinker with the ultimate ability. So if we want to make a fight where ultimate abilities might be extremely needed, and then we need the player to use them very fast. But of course, they need the 15-minute charge up. We can actually just allow them for the duration of the fight to actually load up that anima power a lot faster. Of course, there's going to be like low explanation as to why this happens, but it's we've put a lot of time. I'm actually quite excited to see what we're going to come up with in the future.
So, a question about the ultimate ability. We're at the end of chapter 1 in the story, and already we have the ultimate ability. The name just is kind of suggesting the end. This is the ultimate. You're never going to get anything that's better than this. Are there any plans for expanding the ability wheel? There was also one of the questions in Twitch chat. Are there any plans for expanding the ability wheel further on in the game, adding new things to it?
Again, I'm so sorry.
You must be like the worst date.
I'm terrible. I usually don't sit at the right table even.
He's the one that would be texting on a cell phone throughout the whole date. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Sorry,
Just send it
I had
to
to
a
take
text.
this.
It's not you, it's you.
I probably should not even log in the game. It's like I tend to have my character here because it just attracts people. It makes it easier for people to see we're having like this Q&A, so they tend to come and ask what's going on. But it also makes so many people telling me about all of their bugs and what's going on. So I'm hoping now like half of them are going to go towards Scriv, which is why I made him big, because he can just deal with the.
Hi,
Your
everybody.
secret plan.
on the next time we have you on, make Scriv or make someone else big, so they have they're your shield, they're your Aegis shield.
This should be good. I will now answer all bug and technical questions.
Oh God.
People are going to have fun, especially the customer service.
Yeah, I know. This tall guy just told me this thing. All right, I'm listening.
Yeah. We are at the end of chapter 1 in the story, and already we have what you guys have called the ultimate ability, which suggests that it is like this uber powerful thing to have. How do you plan on toppling that? Are there any plans for expanding the ability wheel further on in the game and as we progress with the story?
Yeah, we have several plans regarding player power and doing many things. What you said, I just want to correct you when you said, getting the ultimate ability. It actually, from my perspective, is not the ultimate ability, is a ultimate ability. Like this is more of a new feature that we just opened up. And we want to have new ways for the player in the future to find new different ultimate abilities. So they're going to be just as powerful. They might have like different effects. Some of them might be more applied. Some of them we might do in the future like more like a really healing one and a DPS one. And it's going to be almost the same as one of the elite ability that you equip on your normal bar. It's just you'll be able to choose which ultimate you want. So gaining the ultimate will be the interesting things, it might be like, so we still want to have this kind of variation among the players of getting different ways, and based on your choices, based on what you've done in the past, you might be awarded different abilities, but eventually you'll be able to choose between one or the other. If that makes any sense. So you won't be able to choose between like the different wings that you have, like this, for this particular ability, this is done. Like, this is like the type of ability that we see about this patch, but in the future we'll come up with something new, something just as cool or even better. And then people, based on the content that you're facing, you'll decide to say, okay, for this one, I want to use the current one, but for the future content, like, we're going to need the tank to, I don't know, absorb like a million hit point hits, and this is when they would actually be popping their new ultimate, like super wall ability that allows you to absorb like any kind of damage for X amount of time.
Cool. And are there any plans for expanding the ability wheel in the future?
I would say no. I'm talking like we haven't really discussed it, but 525 abilities is a lot already. It's very, very difficult to balance. It's very difficult to to keep up to date and everything. So we're gonna update them. Our ultimate goal is to try and make sure that all of these abilities have a use in some way. We always pay attention, you know, when the abilities would never get used. You know, this is why we did like we focused on doing those kind of elite revamps when we did the EPE, but this is an ongoing process for us. Like all the time we look at what's going on, we use the data that we have to see, okay, nobody used this, for what reason, you know, or these two and two are too similar. And we try to give an identity to all these abilities. So it's, you know, there's going to be new Ox weapons, so you're going to get new abilities this way. But yeah, once the Ox wheel is done, once the main ability wheel is already done, we probably will come up with like a different system altogether, like, you know, depending on where we are with the game.
Cool. Can you tell us a little more about the upcoming group content? Like, there's a group, the raid, and is anything still happening with the scenario?
Yes. So right now, I mean, we are focusing on the new dungeon for issue 12. As it's been mentioned before, and as you know, a lot of people have noticed, like we did say dungeons, so we're actually trying to do more than one. We're going to focus on doing one well first, and when this one is going to be ready, like part of the way it's designed, we are forced to work on kind of both of them at the same time, but we're going to try to make sure we still put more of the focus on one of them, so that when it's ready, we're able to release it. And what is most likely to happen is, you know, we're going to try to finish the dungeon like as soon as possible, and when we're happy with the quality, we'll release it, and then give it a little bit more time, and then release the follow-up dungeons. At the same time, we're gonna update some of the existing raids and add a new one, and we're also looking into adding a new level of difficulty to the raids, so making like Nightmare Raid something which is going to be really focused at all the people who have already beat the New York raid like a few hundred times, so something which is going to be very, very difficult with new rewards and yeah, and probably some of the most difficult content that we're going to have in the game. And then we made a plan was, you know, going to last like well into the next year of actually creating more and more content like this, so we can make sure, like, you know, the more hardcore players are happy. As I did mention before, I mean, this issue 12 and doing like this really focused on group content is going to be a test for us to see what is actually the real interest from players. From what we see, you know, from this, the sale and what we're doing in content, is we know there's a lot of people, a lot of players are really loud about, you know, needing this group content. It's just we need to make sure from our perspective at the end that it's still going to be, it's still going to sell enough. We know we have the majority of our players are interested in the stories. It's what they want, and you know, we're kind of afraid that if we spend like I mean, if we spend a full issue on one of these, if we spend a full issue on
dungeon
on the dungeon, yes. There might be a lot of players, you know, the people who actually want the stories, they might be, well, actually, there's nothing for me in this game. They might get bored into waiting, like having to skip an issue ahead. But on the opposite, you know, there might be a lot of players say, oh, perfect, this is what we wanted. You know, it adds a lot. It has dungeons that have a lot of retentions, mechanic. It makes people very happy. There's a lot of gear to be gotten. And so, yeah, it's a test for us. We have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to allow us to actually get, you know, see, yeah, people really want dungeon. And if it works, great. If you know that's what people want, you know, we'll do more in the future. If not, we'll keep them more like, you know, like the pace that we're doing now, to try and make sure we try to do a little bit of both. Of course, no matter what we do, you know, the stories are primary focus, so this will always happen no matter what. It's just trying to find how to weave in the group contents. As for scenarios, I'm honestly not sure where we're at now. Like, we had, like, there was minimal interest, I think, for many things in the scenario. So right now we had to push it down the list of priorities. We'll see how it goes with the dungeons. We have some plans for new scenarios, like some new types, which, you know, I would love to get working on, but it's really going to depend on where we're at, you know, with the population of the games and what we can do, you know, on our end to try and try to juggle between doing dungeon scenarios, raids, and story. And new locations and everything that we have planned right now.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, because I know that I'd get torn a new one if I didn't say this. I mean, all the issues so far have had, amazingly good story content, but just saying there are a lot of people that are, have been patiently waiting for new PvP content, new raids, new dungeons. There is still, I couldn't honestly give an actual figure, but there are quite a few people that are waiting specifically for that content, and for some players, the end content is one of the most important, because that is what keeps them ticking along, what keeps them,
Of course.
yeah.
And we know, I mean, myself as I'm a very hardcore player. I like raiding, like I like Nightmare, and I like group dungeons. This is what I do. I've been playing MMO since the early days of Ultima Online, and in EverQuest I was raiding. I spent, I think, most of my time, instead of going to university, I spent it raiding. But it's I know what it's like, and I do want to do it. It's just it's what I was talking about for us, juggling into. We try to cater for everyone, and we really do our best, and we try to see what is going to be the priority based on what it's going to do. Like, it's as we mentioned, like, creating any issue has a cost, on the whole team working and everything, and we need to make sure that when the issue comes out, it does pay for itself, for the effort that we've put in it. And this is why sometimes we get worried, because we do know the numbers, of people, like, the people that we have playing compared to the people, from the people we have playing, we see the amount of people who actually do the dungeon, the people who do the raids, and it's a very small percent. When you yourself are a hardcore, like, raider, all you see are the people around you who raid with you, who group with you. So it makes you feel like it's everybody, on the server. So you have this kind of a biased view that everybody is like you, and everybody is interested in this content. When in reality, most of the players are people who tend to, is going to be like a couple who's going to be logging at night and might play, like, a few hours, like every night, just going happily through the content and seeing what is being offered. And this is actually, like, more of the majority of the people. So we, by saying this, I'm not saying in any way that we just ignore this percent of hardcore people. We want to do something for them, and this is why, we're dedicating this issue 12 to all of them. But then it's going to be up to you guys, to really, I want to say, to really prove that yes, you wanted this content, and then it's going to be viable for us to keep doing this in the future. And the same thing applies for PvP. Actually, we have planned, like, issue 12 is actually, there's a lot more going on in issue 12, which I can't reveal just yet. I will give you more details about some extra exciting stuff we're coming as part of issue 12 soon. But sorry, I had to. But
auxiliary weapon.
Issue 13 is actually going to be looking into some serious PvP updates, as well as other stuff.
Ooh, what kind of can you elaborate more on the PvP updates, because people have been really patient with PvP, and I guess PvP is slightly in a maybe even worse position that the players who want group content, because I don't know the metrics. You guys know them best, so I could be completely well off the charts here in saying that. But they have patiently been waiting, and PvP stuff keeps on being pushed back. So issue 13 will have a lot more connected to just PvP.
Oh, I wish Scrib would answer some of this question. I'm trying to answer some. Actually, I had a more serious stuff which I was trying to answer. I'll do it in a second. So can you repeat? I'm the worst guest ever. I'm sorry.
It's okay. For the PvP content, it just happens to me when I'm asking the question. So for half the time, I'm left wondering, is my button working? when it comes to PvP, like I said, I guess it's in the same category as, the end gamers, raiders, people who have basically nothing left to do in the game but raid all the time. Sure, they can replay the missions, but they've been there, done that, so to speak. Now, PvPers in general have been very patient. At times they have been extremely vocal, but for the most part they are still in the game. Sure, they come in and they go, and they're back sucked in by their friends who are still in the game. So I'm just wondering if there's anything more that you can add to what you have said, that issue 13 will be there will be quite a bit in it about PvP, and that it will concern PvP. Any teasers, which apparently is a thing right now, that you might provide to them?
I mean, yeah, we love our PvPers. That felt like such a marketing answer. I'm so sorry. But we do, and it's kind of a push the button. And we really appreciate that, they have been so patient, as you mentioned. We know that actually, PvP is actually can be really fun in CSW. We know of the balance issue that can happen, and we love the fact that, some of the more hardcore PvPers are so passionate about what happens, and, they're actually our big driving force. They help us so much with the bug reports, and we're even just general reports, I want to say, about what's going on. God, I need to stop looking at the question for some people. So yes, we do want to cater for them. It's just, again, it's, we are with the team size that we have, we try to juggle. It's the same answer as the dungeon. We have a wish list, which is absolutely massive. I mentioned it last time, is I have this list on which I write everything which I want to do with the game, and trust me, it's years and years of content. We have the story that we want to tell, and there is everything else which I actually want to add to the game to give you more and more things to do. One of these little things I want to add is actually coming up pretty soon, as part of this update, and I'm going to give you a horrible tease, but as part of this extra update, which I mentioned is going to happen for issue 11, we actually have a new feature which is going to happen, which is going to be in the game. So I'm not going to say you more than this. It's a pretty big feature in the game, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. And cool. I'll give you more information about this as soon as I get the clear from the power above. But as far as PvP, Lilith? So this is or even above Lilith. She's just a peon in all this. But yeah, for PvP, we're doing everything we can. And this is why, as we said, we are dedicating this issue 12 to the PvE hardcore, and then 13 is going to be more to try and make sure, to say thank you to all the PvPers for bearing with us for so long, do something which hopefully will keep people entertained for a long time. One of the good things about PvP as well is, for us, it's very self-sustaining. So it's awesome because we can actually do as soon as we have a cool mini game, a lot of people will play it over and over again just simply because it's fun. We actually very recently as well looked into I think it was actually mentioned Beyond the Veil the other day, and I promised I would follow it up, and I did follow up on it. That to start adding ways, for example, of getting signets as part of PvP. So it's the kind of stuff that we're looking into now to try and make sure playing PvP is actually a completely viable way of actually having in the game and having access to the gear that the PvEers would normally do. So we're trying to do, to give those options. What we want to do in the game is really to allow people to play the game the way they want to play. So if they want to do scenarios, they'll do scenarios. If they want to do dungeon, they'll do dungeon. If you just want to do story mission after story mission, they'll do it this way. But whatever they do is going to give them a way to try and have access to the rewards, that might be reserved to some people right now. Like we're trying to find the correct balance. We don't want to annoy like the more hardcore people, but I think we found a system was actually going to be pretty neat, and this is what we're working on, trying to do this in the upcoming issues. So very, very big plans on our side, and I probably spoiled way more than I wanted to originally already.
Well, thank you for the spoilers. So you've mentioned, Tilty, I'm sorry, again, it's you. You have mentioned that you guys, are expecting to dish out content at a more steady pace. And we also know that, a few of the staff have moved away from TSW and have been put on other projects that Funcom is doing right now. You've also mentioned that having everything centralized will help. So all that together will definitely be in, how should I put it? Should be, now I'm stuck for words. 3 a.m. in the morning. It would be beneficial for the entire game, and not just TSW, but all Funcom's live games, with having one centralized development team taking care of absolutely everything.
Yes, I think I got parts of it. I'm sorry, I was again answering messages. Oh my god, I should probably just log off in this.
Okay.
It is. You're talking about the new team. So what happened with the restructure and?
Yeah. Will there be any more team members being taken off any live games and then placed on another project? More specifically, will there be any more developers that will be moved from TSW and put onto another project?
Not really that I can think of. The biggest thing for us was, as you mentioned, is what you need to centralize the team. We've been working, since even before the game came out, we have been working with a team who has been split across 2 countries. It used to be between Montreal and Oslo in Norway, and now it's between Durham in the States and Norway. And this causes a lot of problems. It's difficult, when you work on a game, you have to be very reactive. There's a lot of decisions to be taken on the fly. When those decisions need to be taken, so far away, or when you have like a dependency on something that you need to do, and you won't see the end of the discussion or hear the end of the discussion until the next day, it slows down the entire project. So we sort of, came to a decision, particularly, in the fact that we're starting with potential new projects. I don't know why I said potential at all, but I was trying to say mysterious. But we have new projects, so being worked on in Oslo. So we thought it was the perfect time to try and losing the people that were in Oslo, to move them to their new project with other people who still worked in Oslo. We have a full team working on Lego, for example. So they're doing their own kind of a more centralized team up there, and then we're replacing their roles here with other people. So as we have lost Joel, which is of course a terrible loss, but he's still working in the company. He's still a very strong presence in TSW. As mentioned before, like him and I are our best mates. So we do talk like all the time. So when there's anything, if I have any doubts, he's always there to help me out. And then losing Davichi as well, like Peter was done like all those amazing cutscenes over the last few years that we're losing, and Stian as well, who's the more quiet part of the animators on the cutscenes, will not be working on cutscenes again in the future in TSW unless we need the help. It's a kind of stuff as a project, like we always help each other. If we need something on Conan, we might we'll help each other. If we need something on Anarchy Online, we'll do it. We are still like one big company, but we're trying to replace the skills with people that we have in Durham directly. So it's going to allow us to go a lot faster. It's going to allow us to start, reviewing cutscenes easier, because the cutscenes, sometimes take a long time. There's a lot of back and forth that happen between, the dependency between the player's animation and the worlds that needs to be done, where those animations are going to take place. So here we're going to be able to discuss it right on the fly and actually be able to look at the same screen on the same computer right away, and discuss and make sure we are all on the same page. So this, I think, will really help us create content faster in the future, and hopefully without a loss of quality.
That all
So,
sounds quite positive.
so with
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
when you mean by replacing, do you mean by adding their old jobs, like doing the cutscenes, to current people that's on the live team, or in hiring new staff to come in?
A little bit of both. We have, the tools that are being used to do the cutscenes and animations obviously are the same. We have several animators that work on the team, and people who do the effects. Because, funny anecdote, but the tools that we use to actually make the particles and all the visual effects that you see in the games, so all the effects that you see on spells, for example, like all these particles, is actually the same tool that we use to do cinematics. So we have a lot of people who are very capable, in those tools. So it's going to be them are taking over right away, and they have been trained directly, for example, by Petter, to show the specifics about the cinematics and what he was doing. And we did a proper hands-off, and this is what we do. This is a library of animation that we're using, and these are the good practice. So these are the bugs that you may have encountered and how to get past them. And then on top of it, of course, we're always looking into getting new fresh blood of people to help us out, when it becomes too much for just our team. So yes, there'll be some fresh blood. And now, just to go back on the question to Antida, is this going to affect anymore? We actually are looking into into moving a few more people. It's actually the other option that we had is some of the people who work remotely, some people we have in Montreal, for example. We are looking into moving them down to the office. So really the last kind of issues that we might have in communication, because we are not physically in the same room, are really going to be completely removed soon when everybody is standing here, and we'll be able to have we'll be able to hug, which is very important in our workflow.
Nice.
Got a question for you, Scriv. Where are you taking us next? What's our priority now as bees? Do we track down a Gaia engine, or are we heading off to stop my card?
Am I allowed to answer something like that, Tilty?
Of course you are. Don't know.
I didn't hear. All I hear is a question for Scriv, so I went straight into my.
Oh my God! You're not even.
Hi, my
revising
name
it.
is Joel. You're allowed to answer that.
That was uncanny.
Yeah.
Sounded just like
Joel. You came back to us, Joel.
Gee whiz, mate. Yeah, fair suck of the sav.
Be careful, Joel. He's wearing a mankini.
Watch out.
And Tilty said he wants to hug.
God.
The question was, where are we taking them next?
Oh yeah, no, you can't answer that.
Yeah, man. It's
Not fair.
But Joel
Places-
said...
You should have
places
used. You
with
should have used the
stuff
opportunity.
and things.
Yeah, it's somewhere, if I remember correctly from the design document. It was definitely somewhere.
Well, that's good then.
Places-
Not just a void.
Unacceptable answer.
Places
So, for-
previously mentioned.
So
in
where
the
we are at the final cutscene, are we going east, south, west, north?
Yes.
Give us the general direction.
Over? Directly over?
Yeah, but we're definitely going there. It's
Across.
there is. I'll tell you this. I think it's going to be horrible, but the next 3 locations are all hinted at directly in Kaden. Some of them are hinted even previously, but you're going to see there's a lot of hints in the game already that should allow you to figure out which next destinations are going to be next for the game. And there's also hints in there which should allow you to figure out in which order they're gonna come in there, but they are subtle. So yeah, get cracking.
So the next zone, if it had a color theme, what color would that be? Green or white or gray or?
It would definitely be a color. Yeah.
Puce.
We tried this trick
Mauve.
already. Didn't
I
work.
know.
It's a color for sure, and a direction.
Not,
And I
not
thought we were friends.
it's not a color in the humanly perceived spectrum.
The mantis shrimp can see it.
All right, so not a color in the human Olympics. So I'm going for
Mantis
white,
shrimp-
the lack of color, and a direction. I'm going south pole.
You're reaching.
I'm trying so
it's what
hard.
That's
investigation
all.
missions
I
are about.
can confirm that is a direction.
So
There we
in the
go.
future, how much of a role will the Phoenicians have again? Have they effectively sort of been sidelined just for the moment, or because we seem to be focusing more on Morning Light and Markard and so forth at the moment?
Focus has gone away from them, but they definitely have a part to play in the story. We've got like a long timeline as far as like outline stuff, and it's kind of a modular timeline. So there might be things that jump ahead of other things, just depending on how plans develop. But there are definitely some stories that involve the Phoenicians, and they still definitely have a part to play in the goings on of the secret world.
Well, are we done fishing for hints? Does anybody have more fishing to do?
We can always
Okay.
do more fishing, but I don't think it would help.
Meanwhile.